Good morning, friends. It's Bob again, bringing you another reflection, yet another, on forgiveness and forgiving, the power and complexity of forgiveness and forgiving. Now, I want to talk with you just for a moment about what does it feel like? What happens on the other side of forgiving? Because I think that a lot of times what ends up happening is we get a little confused, that we think, Bob talks about all this stuff, and how the freedom of forgiveness and all these different kind of things, and then you forgive, and what's on the other side of that? And I'd like to be able to say to you that it's that all of a sudden angels are singing and everybody's hugging it out and all this different stuff is happening. But in truth, forgiving and forgiveness in terms of our normal practice actually has a much more subtle type of impact. As I told you about my experience with Empty Chair and working through forgiveness for my dad years ago, I was exhausted by the end of the session. But then in the weeks to come, I didn't really know what to expect, and so I was thinking that all of a sudden I'd feel this giant weight lifted off of my shoulders. But in truth, I felt very little. What I felt was just this a little tiny bit more ease within myself, a little tiny bit lighter sense of being. But I think that what was interesting to me is that other people that were close in my world were the ones that noticed the changes within me, that they said, you just seem lighter. You just seem you laugh easier. There's something about that in you where you just are a little different. It's not a lot different, but it's noticeable. And I had to actually have people in my life that were drawing attention to that, because I didn't really know, especially when you do the majors, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, these different kind of major sort of hurdles and major, I'd say, stream clogging bitterness and resentment, unforgiveness, that in those things that when you, are spouses, after a divorce or even, still married to them, but those majors, a lot of times that there's a giant clog, but the release seems somehow disproportionate, that it seems like a small release, but it's a release into a new land of freedom, a new kind of being. And I want to say that to you today because I don't want you to get discouraged if you forgive and you work through forgiveness and you're expecting a angel singing and all these different kind of things to happen and it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that the forgiveness was any less effective. I was talking with Beck the other day, and she said that she actually was working with a couple, and they were down in San Diego, nobody that anybody knows here, but she was working with a couple, and the guy, she had the guy work through forgiveness using the steps of forgiveness kind of method, and he was completely just sort of non-emotional. It wasn't emotive for him at all. She just said, forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a choice that leads your feelings, those different kind of things. But she's praying the whole time, Lord, you got to make this work, because it doesn't seem like anything is happening. But on the other side of that, then his wife comes in, and they actually have a conversation that they were never able to have because he was too triggered. He was too lit up in the whole thing. And he was able to just completely go in and stay calm and have this very intense kind of discussion on the other side of that. And that's kind of the nature of how forgiveness works, is you forgive it's like there's a log jam, and all of a sudden the log jam gets sort of loosed. But it isn't like all of a sudden there's this cascading or anything of that sort. So again, I want to encourage you not to get discouraged when there is not a massive amount of release. You are participating in the freedom that is rightfully yours in Christ by forgiving. And I want to ask you and I double, triple dog dare you to continue to do the business, the hard work of forgiving. Thanks so much for joining me today. I love you. God bless you.